Welcome back to Blow Up the Team. Today we're going to be doing the Buffalo Bills draft recap, grade, little mixed in with some off-season moves. My kind of series here has kind of evolved as I see your guys' comments. So obviously we're making this, you know, we're making it because we want to, first and foremost, but also we want to make sure that we're giving you guys what you're looking for. So it seems like you guys want me to go more and more in depth, so I'm going to go more and more in depth. So we're also working on trying to figure out ways to make the actual recording itself a little less boring and bland and just staring at screens. So we're gonna mess around with having some like highlight tapes up and stuff like that. So expect to see
The
some
most
changes.
important thing, to remember is that this is literally just we decided because we're bored and stuck in quarantine, we're gonna start trying to take this different. Like this started off as like a podcast type deal, and we weren't gonna really think about too much about what we had on our screens. And obviously, we're not doing that because things change. So
So we're kind of
we're
winging
doing this for
this.
us.
Be patient. We're winging this. Everything. The reason why every one video is different from the next is because we're trying to figure out what works for us and what works for you guys.
Because
I
we're learning the process. We're trying to make better videos as time goes on.
Yeah, like it's not gonna be perfect right out of the gate. We know that. We hope that you guys understand that. We're trying to figure out the best way to do it. The biggest problem that we run into is we don't live together, and so we can't. And Matt doesn't have a webcam, so we can't really have face cams on. We can't really kind of film stuff together. So it's like kind of just we're trying to figure it out as we go along. So we just ask that you be patient, but expect things to kind of be being played with. We're gonna try to make it at least. Uh, Something that you can also like there's something to watch so that you're not just staring at a screen basically. As I say that, we're staring at a screen, so I think it's time to kind of
I
get
feel
into
like
it.
I will say I feel like we did much better. We actually got our first positive comment, mostly
It was
positive
half
comment.
positive. I
Well, I
kind of
mean,
got
he was
roasted
saying
for
like
missing the
it
DeAndre
wasn't
Fowler
really a
signing.
rose. He's like I think you kind of missed this, but like overall it was good.
Yeah,
It wasn't like you were saying they were terrible.
yeah. Speaking of negative comments, real quick though, Arizona
No,
Cardinals, I got
oh
lit up for
god,
that one. I'm not gonna go back and bring them up, but what I
the
will
Arizona
say,
Cardinals. Like I didn't realize they had so many fucking
well, no,
fans.
what happened is that I just like because initially it was just going to be about the draft. It wasn't going to be about all these other offseason moves, but it's expanded to be more than that. So I'm going to go back and remake probably a Cardinals video at some point, just so that way I could do justice there and like really get into depth about it because I did absolutely just skim stuff off the top and just talk kind of really vaguely and really quickly about stuff without explaining myself because we were also trying to keep the video short. But now that we've expended the timer a little bit, I will go back and I will redo the Cardinals video. So keep an eye out for that. That'll probably be this weekend. But we're trying to figure this out as we go along. That being said, I think it's time to get into the video today. You agree? Anything else you wanted to
I
add?
agree.
So
No,
as we get
I'm
ready to
just really
go,
confused at how the fuck I managed to spend 32 minutes talking about the Orioles.
I helped a little bit. I was more active in that one. Um, but like, comment, subscribe, join our Discord, check out our social media that we are sparsely using. We're trying to figure out how we want to use those moving forward, but all those will be linked down in the description. And that being said, I'm gonna kind of move in here. Um, And let's talk about the Buffalo Bills, Bills Mafia, as you guys are affectionately known. Um, you guys had a what I would like to say a very interesting 2019 season, followed up by an even more interesting. Wow, that quality on this clip on these clips are not the best. I will try to fix that for next time. But they had a huge trade for the elite wide receiver Stephon Diggs from the Minnesota Vikings this offseason, and I think that he could be a great pairing with Josh Allen. Um, and um, Diggs himself should be happier. He's not going to be splitting looks anymore with Adam Thielen, which was something he was kind of vocal about not getting the ball, not getting enough touches over in Minnesota. So look forward to that if you're a Bills fan. And then just to talk really quickly and briefly about last year, the Bills had an absolutely elite defense last year. They were third best in yards per game allowed, fourth against the pass, 10th against the run, and that would obviously be if you're going to improve your defense, that's the kind of spot to do it. But they still had the second best rating in points per game, so that defense turned into an absolute monster for them last year. Um, and they also kind of improved on their strength. They went out and they got cornerbacks to play opposite Tre'Davious White, who really had a breakout season. last year, and they added Josh Norman and EJ Gaines. Now, Josh Norman is kind of getting a little older. He's been bouncing around for a few teams now, but it does give them solid veteran play to play alongside and opposite the field for Tre'Davious White, which is, you'll always like to see when you can have, better coverage back there. You'll always take improved cornerbacks when you can get them. Um, but they also their biggest weakness is actually from what I could see, is they didn't have a great pass rush last year. They were 20th in the league when sending 4 or less pass rushers, and so that would be the first place that they're going to be looking to improve. So they added Mario Addison. I don't know too much about him, so I'm not going to go too much into depth. But that brings us to the first the draft pick for them, and the first draft pick that I think is going to be able to make an immediate impact on this team, which is their second round pick. They didn't have a first round pick, or that they kept, and so they went with defensive end AJ Epineza. You have a feeling on that last name? I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names. I got roasted for that the other day. I am so bad with pronouncing names. Do you have a feeling on this guy's last name, Matt?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me. Epinesa.
Okay.
Seems
So,
fine.
he
Gotta remember to talk more than once every 5 minutes. So that way, you don't have another breakdown of your microphone.
yes, that well, I mean, I've also got it plugged in now, but he's a big frame and he's got good strength. He's not necessarily looking like he's going to be an elite pass rusher right out of the box, but he should be able to help generate at least some pressure onto the quarterback, even if he's not going to have a high sack volume. Just getting a kind of shoving some of those offensive linemen back into his face, just causing a overall disruption. It's going to be huge for along that defensive front there. Help out those corners that they obviously was a strength that they also improved. Um, and honestly, I think they got great value for this pick. He was ranked as the 23rd pick in the draft, and they picked him at 54. Um, and he just seems like he's a good overall uh, pass rusher, even if he doesn't have, like I said earlier, high sack potential. He just seems like he's going to just be in the quarterback's face, which is obviously something that you love to see. Um, but let's just talk for a second about the Bills' struggle on offense as we look to get into the rest of the draft picks here. That this was the Bills had a great season. Don't get me wrong. I think they 10-6. I think they went like they
Yeah.
had a much better season than they were projected to be at the beginning of the season. And I honestly you could see them take another step forward this year even. Maybe not in wins wise. Like I could see them like if they lose a couple close games that they maybe will stay around that 10-6 mark. But I definitely think that they are going to be a more rounded football team this year. And Josh Allen is only going to get better as he kind of gets more experience in the league. So um, keep an eye out on that. But last season they were bottom third in the league for yards per game. They were technically the ninth worst, and they had the seventh least passing yards. And this brings us to the next pick to go along with Stephon Diggs. They also picked up a gentleman by the name of Gabriel Davis, and another guy named Isaiah Hodgins. I'm gonna talk about Gabriel Davis first here in the fourth round out of UCF. Um, the biggest things that I can note from him is that he doesn't seem to have top end speed. He's not going to blow players away. He's not going to completely blow the cover off the defense. But he just tracks the ball well. He tends to have good body positioning, and he's just a natural pass catcher, which is something that I talk about a lot because at the end of the day, what does a wide receiver do? They need to be able to go up and make a play on the football and need to come down with it, right? And so if they just have a knack for being able to do that, even some tough catches like that play right there, um, that's going to be huge for Josh Allen, especially with his kind of improv style of quarterbacking. Somebody that he can get out of the pocket, and if he needs to, just kind of throw it up, and he's going to at least have a chance at the 50-50 ball. That could be huge for that offense kind of moving forward. Um, like any wide receiver coming out of college, he needs to work on his route running a little bit. Um, but that will come with time and experience as well as some work from the coaching staff there. So I could definitely see him fitting in well with John Brown and Stephon Diggs and some of the 3 wide receiver sets that they're going to have going on in Buffalo. So keep an eye on him. I could see him making an immediate impact this season. I'm not saying that he's going to be a breakout star that is going to be one of the best wide receivers in the league or anything like that. But keep an eye on him. I think he will be an impact player especially as he starts to find his way in the NFL. And then really quickly, I'll touch on Isaiah Hodgins here. Um, he was picked late in the sixth round, and obviously you don't know what you're gonna get out of somebody that was drafted so late in the draft, but he's kind of they're honestly kind of similar deals in the fact that he lacks
Oh,
that
this guy.
he
Oh,
he lacks natural burst or top end speed, and he's not that big of a threat after the catch. Seems to be the note that I could find on him. But he does just have a knack for finding his soft spots in the zone, which is something that, that's immensely valuable. And he tends to be, he's actually a pretty well-rounded route runner. And this next play here, the reason why Matt is reacting is because watch this next play here.
this
I
is
just love this
disgusting.
route. I love this route.
Fracture, broken. Just that's just there's nothing like he just like both legs broken. There's nothing.
I'm just gonna run that route back real fast because I'm sorry I can't slow the video down here. But if you have a chance, go ahead and put it on like 0.5 or 0.25 speed. Watch how many times he makes the cornerback completely shift his hips on that route alone. That no cornerback is going to
In
be
the
able to
wrong
stick with that.
direction.
He had him go in the wrong direction twice. He had to make him turn his hips 3 times in order to get going. By the time, if I can just get the pause right, I don't know if I'll be able to, but he's just coming out of his break here, and look at the separation he's created. And that, obviously that's on a college level, on a college corner, and so when you get into the pros, it's going to be a little bit harder to do that. But to be able to see that kind of that's just a beautifully run route from start to end. That's not something that you always see out of a wide receiver, and so coming out of college, and so I would be interested to see if he can continue to develop that skill and create separation off the line and create a quick option for Josh Allen. That could be a huge addition to that offense. Be able to get the ball out of hands quick, so limit his injury risk. There'd be a lot of good things that could come from that. Moving on, eighth best rush yards per game. So their rushing attack was actually pretty solid. They did have I can't remember his name. I think it was Singletary. I think that was the. Hold on, I'm exposing myself here. Yeah, Devin Singletary. I wanted to make sure I had the name right. He looked to be a budding star last year. He ran the ball well for them. He was their leading rusher, and they found a number two back to go along, or maybe not even number two, but just a running back combo to work with him with Zach Moss. I really like this kid. He runs the ball hard, and he's not afraid of contact, which is, he's only 5'9". So, some of these smaller height-wise, they tend to be a little bit scared of contact. He is not. He runs with a lot of power. He almost goes looking for contact. Like you can see there, he is not afraid to go through you if you're in his way. He's got good hands. He's got good vision when he runs the football. He doesn't have he I'm sorry. He's got good balance, and he's willing to pass block, which is going to be great again for Josh Allen. He tends to be a little bit of a scrambler. Josh Allen does. He's willing to get outside the pocket, extend the play, and having a willing pass blocker in there for a running back, that could come in huge, as if he can stay with the play and kind of keep blocking for him as the play develops. But I really like this kid. I think that there's always going to be a spot for power backs in the NFL, and he definitely has those qualities. He's just not afraid to lower his shoulder and go get what he wants, and that's something that you don't always see fresh out of college. But he has the ability to make a man miss occasionally, and just that brute power to go through you is something. So I really like that pick there as well for them. Um, but let's go on to the last pick I want to talk about here, which is Jake Fromm, which I think that they got a pretty good value for Jake Fromm pick here late in the fifth round. He's a solid quarterback coming out of Georgia. He's not necessarily going to make an immediate impact. He's not going to be challenging Josh Allen for a starting job day one, but because of that improvised style of play that Josh Allen has, where he's willing to extend the play, he's going to get outside the pocket, he's going to look to make things happen. He does tend to be a little bit injury prone, or maybe not him specifically. He's definitely had his battles with injuries over his first few years in the league. But even if you just look
He's
at
like a solid backup.
you need a solid backup, because if you just look at his style of play in general, look at what happened to RG3 and guys like that. So you're gonna need a backup, and Jake Fromm can be that guy for the next few years. And did I say Jake Fromm or I say Josh Allen? I think I may have gotten the names mixed up. Jake
No,
Fromm is going to be a solid backup for Josh Allen. moving forward for the few years that he'll be there. And you know, if he looks like he's developing well, he could turn into a great trade chip if he looks like he's going to develop into an NFL ready quarterback. So, you're always looking for potential value wherever you can get it. Taking a flyer on him in the fifth round, kind of late in the draft. There's a lot of upside potential for them there, and you can never. One of the scariest things that you can see as a fan of a team is watching your quarterback go down and get hurt. And if you don't know that you have a capable um, quarterback waiting in the wings to kind of step up and make that happen for you, that can be very scary. So keep an eye on him. Again, he played. I'm gonna say it every video because it seems like it's gonna come up every video. I am a South Carolina guy, so I've seen Jake Fromm now for a few years, and he definitely has had his ups and downs at Georgia, but you know he has the potential to develop. So I like that. Even though quarterback is not necessarily a position of need for them, I like them taking that flyer on him in the fifth round. Um, you know, he's got solid fundamentals. He has the potential, and you know what? You never know what could happen. So it's better to have those options on your roster than to not have them and need them. So the last little note here, so let's just talk about the things that they missed a little bit. I've talked about most of their picks here. They made a lot more moves. Like they made their biggest splash. I would say pretty much hands down is bringing in Stefon Diggs from Minnesota. So um, they weren't afraid to make moves in other part of their offseason. I didn't see a big name outside linebacker. I did not see a big name linebacker signing for them, which is a little curious for me. If you want to just look at their roster for a second, um, I don't see these are all their linebackers here. I don't see any one of those guys. I mean, AJ Klein, he's had a few bright spots, but just overall, that linebacking core is something that you know. Oh, that they played well last year. Obviously, you don't have a defense that played as well as the Bills did last year without having a complete team. So they played well, but they definitely could have used a little bit of extra help, and it doesn't look like they were able to get that. Um, and the other thing was offensive guard, and they did pick up um, Markel Harrell in free agency. He was undrafted this year, and they picked him up in free agency. But more importantly, they've also just got other young guys along the line there. A couple of guys that are you got a rookie, a guy with going into his second year, and a guy going into his third year. So they've got a lot of young guys that they can look to develop on the interior of that line. So I'm not too mad about them not going out and picking another offensive guard. They've already got a lot of young guys that they can look to develop on there. And if they weren't going to get basically a plug and play player right out of the gate, then it was probably best for them to not continue to take flyers on projects at an offensive guard position. So um, continuing to develop that depth at other positions is vital, and I think they made a good decision to do that. Um, but that's most of what I specifically had that I had wanted to say. I kind of breezed through this. I was trying not to kind of get bogged down. I kind of get caught up tripping over myself sometimes, so I'm trying to make a better job of making sure that I have my notes of what I want to say ready to go. But as we look to close this out here, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give them. I'd say I give them probably a B plus for the draft. I think they went and they did a good job of making sure that they covered their bases, that they got the help where they needed the help, with the exception of, in my opinion, that linebacker spot. Although I could have missed a linebacker signing somewhere, so if I did, feel free to let me know down below. But other than that, I think they did a good job. They made sure that they went and they got a corner to play outside of on the opposite side of Trey White, which is going to be huge for them, and to be able to have solid veteran corners to play alongside him. Um, and I think that they drafted well. I think they gave themselves some pieces that Josh Allen, being so young, will be able to kind of. I mean, don't get me wrong, they have a talented wide receiving core already. They got Cole Beasley, who you just saw there scoring a touchdown, and John Brown, but bringing in Stefon Diggs and then those two guys that they brought
It
in
just
the
sets
draft.
them like Like that is their number one receiver now. Like that makes it so much easier for Josh Allen to have another weapon, like a better weapon.
Exactly. You took an offense who was struggling to find that signature piece to go alongside Josh Allen, and you gave them a guy who's proven that he can be a number one option on a very good football team in Stephon Diggs. And then you've also given him young guys that he can continue to build around for years to come and develop that rapport with. So I really think they did a good job here. Um, the only thing that's keeping them from that A, like I keep bringing up, is that one linebacker spot that they just never seem to found the linebacker in the draft. But that being said, I think they had a great job. And Bills Mafia, I know you're one of the most loyal fan bases out there. I think you guys should be very excited about you guys going about the team going into this season. If they can stay healthy, I mean they had a great season last year, 10-6, like I said earlier, and I think that they have the real potential to kind of become a threat. So Bills fans out there, be excited. I think you've got a good season ahead of you. I know you struggled for a few years there. You had quite a yeah, my roommate last year was a huge Bills fan, and I just watched him just be in absolute dismay for weeks that season. So I know I kind of have an insight on how you guys are feeling, but stay strong, and I think you guys are have a promising future ahead of you. You got a young team to build around going forward, and they already showed a lot of promise last year. But overall, for the draft, like I keep saying, they hit all the points they needed to hit pretty much. So that was a very strong draft from them and a great off season. So do you have anything you'd like to add, Matt, before we go ahead and wrap this up?
No, yeah, this is gonna be more general Bills than just draft Bills, but like as in general, the Bills have like I went from bottom of the barrel to like one of the like I think we had one of the smartest off seasons in 2018. They're like, you know what, let's pick one thing to be really good at, and we can build off that. And they like their whole off season, their whole draft was all defense, and now this year, and they're like, okay, we have a really good team again. Because of how they focus, they're able to build this. They're able to focus a little bit more on offense this time around, and complement their parts that they're really good at. And I think that that it's just been really interesting to watch them become as good as they've become.
They got a lot of young talent on the roster, and they saw a lot of upside from them last year. And I think it'll only get better as they get some more time in the league and continue to develop. So a lot of promising things for them. Again, we're trying to find new ways to kind of give you guys something to watch. I know, just watching highlights in a highlight clip in the background is maybe, especially with the quality kind of being questionable at times. You know, we're trying. We're trying to figure stuff out. I actually think that having these highlights in the background kept me on track a little bit better because I feel like I covered everything I wanted to cover um, in 10 minutes less than it usually takes us. I think that having those clips in and being able to have that in the background kind of keeps me on pace because I'm trying to keep up with with that pace of the video. So with that being said, I think I'm good to go. Matt, you've said your bit. That's all you wanted to add.
I've said my piece.
All right, so it is 4:18. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. Later today, you should see a Matt. Who are you doing today?
I am doing the Toronto Blue Jays.
So you can expect to see a Toronto Blue Jays preseason grade or off-season grade. I don't remember exactly how we're.
Preseason report card, basically. What to expect? They're going to be. How's is their bull? What's their bullpen? What's their team looking like? So we're using the same grading system just for totally different things.
Yeah. So this video comes out around 2 o'clock Eastern time, and you should expect to see Matt out at around 6, except for that the time that we're recording could wind up being almost 12 hours different. Funny enough. Um,
Yeah, we got very sidetracked with D&D talks and other stuff
we just
with
we
our
just had a lot
friends.
of stuff going on tonight, and now it's late,
The
and I gotta
fight
be
over
up.
Harry Potter was nuts.
And I gotta be up early tomorrow, so we got really sidetracked. Uh, so we will make sure we get that video out for you guys, but it will definitely be at a much different time. But look forward to seeing that later today. Um, and other than that, make sure you like the video, subscribe, comment, um, join our Discord. Please join our Discord. Any way that we can kind of directly communicate with you guys, we want to put out content, obviously that we enjoy making, but also that you guys enjoy watching. So if you join our Discord, if as we kind of after we finish this series is going to keep us busy for a while. But after we kind of finish up this series, we'll definitely be we're talking in there about videos you guys might like to see, as well as we're continuing with the series, ways that we can improve it as we go along. So that way, we we give you guys the best quality content that we can. We're trying to figure it out. We're playing around with different ideas. So just feel free to hop in and give us some. But with that, I think that this has been Blow Up the Team, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.